Hey, it's Jeff. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 benefits to pruning your houseplants and why you might want to consider it for your collection. The first I'm going to talk about is branching. This can be applied to most houseplants, whether they are a vining type plant or whether the plant grows upright. For vining houseplants, if you cut anywhere along the stem, it will activate the node closest to where you made the cut, and sometimes it will even promote or push out growth further along the stem at different nodes. An example of this is my golden pothos that I have growing in my wally grow. You can see this is where I've previously made the prune, and here is an entirely new stem or branch that has started from the closest node. If you follow along the stem, you can see there are a few other growth points at the nodes. Here's a small one here as well. And it looks like there's a few more growth points up here. So if you make one cut, it will start to branch out in one area, if not multiple nodes, just from making that one prune. This technique can be applied to most vining type houseplants, anywhere from pothos plants, scindapsus, vining philodendrons, like my Brazil back here, lipstick plants, and even Hoyas, which I've pruned previously to get it to branch out. This is my Hoya polyneura. It's starting to fill out into a nice full plant. The same can be done for plants that grow upright, like my Ficus elastica burgundy. If I was to cut the top off of this plant, this portion up here, it can no longer grow upright or upwards from that point. So the plant sends out signals to nodes lower in the stem to push out new growth or branches. And you may get one or multiple branches from a single prune. This is my beautiful Ficus elastica melanie. Just want to show down here. This is the main portion of the stem, and it looks like it's been previously pruned before I bought it, right at this area, and it has developed 3 branches from that prune. And as it continues to grow, I have pruned it a couple times. There is one prune right here, which it has branched out twice. And then on this branch, I made a prune earlier this year, and it again branched out in 2 areas. Next is pruning to shape a plant, and this is simply controlling how a plant grows or manipulating it to grow in a certain way. Perfect example is my jade plant, which I have taken from a single stem cutting about 5 years ago. I prune this every spring so that it branches out into this beautiful tree-like structure. Knowing how a plant grows obviously helps you determine where to make the cuts. For jade plants, I know that if I cut a portion of the stem, it's going to branch out in 2 areas, and even planning out my where my cuts are, I can manipulate this plant to branch out in a certain way. I know that if I make a cut just above 2 leaves, that the branches will form on the same sides of those leaves. So if you have a plant like this and you want branches to grow like laterally this way and not over the top and one branch sticking out, then I know I'm going to have to cut an area of the stem where the leaves are in the direction of where I want those branches to go. So pruning this every year allows me to shape it into this beautiful tree-like structure, and obviously it does take time. You want to prune in the spring, kind of early summer, so that it gives the plant a chance to establish a large enough root system to support and develop all the new growth. It was basically early summer when I did the pruning. I cut off all the tips or the tops of every single branch and made it a little bit more uniform so that there wasn't one branch sticking out further than the other. And you can see there is new growth. See if I can get it in. There is new growth from every single stem or branch that I cut from, and it is branched out in 2 areas like this right here. So it branches out like that. And next year, as this stem or this branch continues to grow, then I will again next spring cut the top off, and that will allow it to branch out further into this absolutely gorgeous tree-like structure. It does take time, it takes patience, lots of sunlight and fertilizer, but this is how you can prune a plant to manipulate it into a certain shape or to grow it in a certain way. Pruning off any damaged or dying leaves can help the plant redirect the energy that it may be using to discard of these leaves and use it for new growth. This also is a good opportunity for you to inspect the plant overall as to why it might be getting some yellow leaves, whether it is just an old leaf dying off as new growth is being pushed out, or if it's something else in regards to soil or even a root rot issue or even a pest issue. So just make sure that you look over the leaves in the plant entirely to figure out why it might be losing or having some leaves die off. For this peace lily, I know this is a victim of underwatering. It has gotten dry on a couple of occasions, so when that happens, you will start to see some leaf dieback. Like this one right here. It's pretty much of no use to the plant anymore. I like to cut with a nice clean pair of pruning shears as close to the stem as possible and just cut that dying leaf off. You can throw that away. If you are able to remove it without making a cut, like this crispy thing right here, just pull it right off of the plant. That way it's just a nice clean leaf removal. There is no damage to the stem, as you don't want to introduce any like fungus or bacteria that may further harm the plant. So if you can, just pull off the leaves, like this guy right here. So it's just a nice clean leaf removal. And then this just helps clean up the overall look of the plant. And so you're not having all these kind of yellowing leaves. This one might be a little bit more difficult because it's further in the plant. So I might have to, actually I can pull it off just like that. There's a couple more little ones at the base of the plant you can remove. And you can see up top here, since giving it a good thorough watering, it has now since pushed out a few new growth points. You can see there's some dying leaves up there. But just kind of rotate the plant. There's another dead leaf right there. So just remove that and then place it back in its location, and it's looking better already. So the fourth benefit, and probably the funnest, is pruning to propagate. This is a top cutting from a Ficus Alaska robusta. I basically snipped the top off, placed it in some water, it grew roots, and I have since potted it in some soil. It's actually getting some roots popping out the bottom. So this is simply just making new plants from the plants that you have. Quite often I use perlite prop boxes for most of my houseplants, including Hoyas, philodendrons, or for some of these larger ones, I have propagated this in water. I also have some cuttings here. I'm just gonna put this down. I also have some cuttings of a Aglaonema. I believe this is the Emerald Beauty. So I snipped the tops off of those plants as well. And it looks like they are already starting to get some roots popping out through the stem here. So I'm going to make an entirely new pot of this Aglaonema Emerald Beauty just from the cuttings or from the pot that I had upstairs. So yeah, this is a nice, easy, affordable way to make new plants from the houseplants that you have. Whether you decide to keep them for yourselves, trade them, give them away to friends, family, that's typically what I do, is when I have an excess amount of propagations, I really don't have room for them anymore, so I'll usually give them to family or plant friends that I know will take them. But yeah, this is just a nice way of making more plants from the plants that you have. The fifth and final benefit to pruning houseplants is simply to add balance. Sometimes plants get a little bit stretched out or leggy, and that's what happened to this Emerald Beauty, this Aglaonema Emerald Beauty, which these cuttings actually came from. It got quite leggy. It just didn't look right anymore. Sometimes a plant might have one branch that sticks out to the side, or you simply want to reduce the size of a plant if it's getting too large. As you grow houseplants, plants grow large, so ultimately you're going to have to control the size of it. And that's what I did with this one. I cut off the stems in hopes that it branches out and becomes more of a bushy, smaller, compact type plant. Another plant that can quickly get out of hand is actually the Monstera deliciosa. This is a propagated cutting from a much larger plant that I used to have. It was just absolutely out of control. There was branches everywhere. It no longer fit the area where I had it, so I snipped off one stem and I have since placed it in a single pot. But if you want to control the, I guess the lateral growth or the side growth of the leaves, you can actually just follow along to the base of the plant and just cut off each individual leaf as needed. And yeah, it controls the size of the plant. If you have one stem or one petiole that is way off to the side, it's obstructing the view of something or something else that is growing, just cut it off, and that's how you can control how a plant grows. So I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. I hope you found it useful and can apply these benefits or pruning techniques to your houseplants to grow better houseplants. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for more houseplant content. I appreciate all the views and all the comments. Thanks again for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.